on, um, abroad. It's definitely Jamaica's definitely increased a bunch in their throwing prowess, especially in the discus, in recent years. And so it's been fun talking to some throwers and some throws coaches. We've got some great ones aboard, and I know Ryan just joined. Will be joining us momentarily to have some talk here on the world's greatest team. If you miss any of these, you can always catch us on YouTube. Just enter in JUSTA Cup, and you'll be able to join us and see it back up. So Ryan, how are you, sir?
I'm good, and how are you?
Man, I can't be better. I start talking throws. It's good. It also actually gets me kind of hungry because being around throwers so much, I kind of get to eat some good food. So that's my mindset when I talk throws.
All right, yeah, I know. I know there's a lot of people that's what they're looking forward to right now, being quarantined. He's like, people are going meal to meal.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what, I think the quarantine 15, as they were saying, is a real thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm trying to gain weight right now, so I would take the quarantine 15 would be good for me.
Well, I don't know if you listened. Yesterday, I had Filip Mihalovic on from Croatia. He was talking about drinking a liter of milk at night at 10 o'clock and stuff to try to keep weight going. I'm thinking a liter of milk at 10 p.m. That would kill me.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of stuff like that. I try to do close to a gallon throughout the day when I'm trying to gain weight.
So
So
how much do you weigh right now? And what are you trying to get to? Or is it?
I'm about 308, give or take a couple pounds. I'm trying to get to like 320. So trying to get about 12 more pounds.
It's that's still pretty massive, right?
Yeah. So, so still not like I'm too skinny right now, but yeah, just trying to gain a little bit of weight. And I mean, when I'm competing, I'll probably weigh about 310, about what I am right now, but going back into heavy training. So we'll see kind of as we don't know a lot of unknowns right now going forward. So just kind of
Sure.
building a strength base. My training right now kind of looks a lot more like fall conditioning than what it would normally look like for late April.
Sure. I was just going to ask you what has kind of been the emphasis right now, gaining some weight, putting on some mass, getting strong.
Yeah, so it's just the throwing is kind of not taking a back seat, but not worried too much about distances right now, just because if I'm throwing well, the only thing I'd be right now is kind of frustrated not being able to find a meet.
Right.
So I'm just right now kind of really focusing on the weight room, trying to build a little bit of a strength base, get my weight up, and kind of it's a lot easier to work on and program because throwing has a lot more intangibles. They kind of don't follow quite the same timeline that you'd expect. Whereas weightlifting, if I want to program a cycle that, okay, I want to hit my PR in the bench press in 8 weeks, it is a pretty standard for me or for most athletes. Kind of, you have a general road path or roadmap of kind of here's how to get there. So I have a lot more flexibility in the weight room as opposed to throwing, where you're working on stuff all the time, but if you don't have kind of that common goal, and a lot of it is mental in the throwing, that if
Sure.
you're just a lot of unknowns, it gets really it's easy to get frustrated and get down. Where right now, I mean, just getting out there, trying to work on technique, lay some foundation. Like I was saying, a lot like fall style training instead of trying to throw far distances when there's no point really right now in throwing far because there's no place to throw at or prove.
What have been the challenges where you're at right now? I mean,
Mhm.
with lifting or practicing. I mean, is it hard? I know you're in Arkansas, or maybe you're not
Yeah,
in it now.
yeah. So I'm in Arkansas, and it's been it's been tough just in that like I mean here all facilities are closed. I had a circle to throw at that was just a circle out in a huge grass field, but then we had people come out and say we can't be out there. That was like last week. So we're in between places to practice right now, so trying to just throw off a sidewalk. So that's been a little bit frustrating. We've had kind of just crazy weather this spring. We've had some really warm days, but we had snow last week, so it's like weather can't
Wow.
make up its. We had a 92-degree day, and then we had snow less than 5 days later. So it's been all
Crazy.
over the place. Yeah, so it's been a little bit tough being outside. But up until this week was lucky to have a place to throw. And so kind of just doing what I can with that and then just lifting in the garage. So there's really not a whole lot going on, at least for me, that's really groundbreaking training. Really
Right.
just going really to fundamentals, huge focus on the primary lifts. So doing some Olympic lifting, but I'm not really set up for it. So it's kind of just modified pulls. And so just a lot of bench and squat mostly.
I was gonna say, you know, you found yourself modifying some exercises. I mean, throwing off of the
Hmm.
sidewalk. I think that's something that athletes, especially younger athletes, can kind of mentally, and you said it was a mental game, if they don't have exactly what they're used to having, it kind of throws them off. But you just said you're, you know, throwing off a sidewalk. I mean, that is, you
Yeah.
know, great.
So yeah, it's a lot of it. I think right now is being creative and doing what you can. There's no really everyone's in a different boat, but at the end of the day, it's kind of you got to make do best with what you got. So, trying to find places to throw, trying to at least do the lifts that I can. I've been
Right.
lucky that I can be able to bench and squat safely, but it's been a little bit of a challenge. But it's a lot as a professional athlete. This is a lot similar. I've been telling people to kind of what we have in Europe. Usually, you're going to a place that you don't know. A lot of times you don't have facilities or your facilities are real limited, um, and you just kind of make do with what you have. So it's different having being home and trying to have the same problems, but it's something that we kind of as professional athletes internationally run into a lot. You're just kind of whether you're throwing off of a sidewalk, you don't have a ring, you there we run into all kinds of stuff. So a lot of active problem solving, and so it's just doing the best you can with what you got.
And that is the best ones always do it for sure. You
Yeah.
had a pretty good indoor season, I would think. You know, I mean, were you happy with some of the performance? I know Melrose was was was
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah, I was really happy with indoors, especially considering my training. It was kind of a little bit of a strange year with we had world champs go all the way until October, which we've never had before. And so
Right.
then coming off of that, it was really minimal um, base training to get ready for indoors. I mean, I just like competing and use it as a check to kind of see where I'm at, but it was really was in what would look like late fall training as opposed to a normal indoor season getting done 6 or 8 weeks later than normal.
Right.
So it was a different feel to it, but I was happy with Milrose, especially because my training, I mean, I really don't throw that far usually in the winter in training, especially the last couple of years, just because I'm under a heavy weightlifting and for me, I just try to get good technique work in, but nothing is dynamic or fast. So that's usually for me what it kind of takes to have some far throws. And so was really happy to throw over 22 at Milrose, and then really surprised myself because I after Milrose had just a week before U.S. indoors and just took pretty much a recovery week there, and so I went in feeling rested, and I really surprised myself with an indoor PR 2260. Was 6 centimeters off the world record, so I was really surprised with that. Felt like I was in a really good place, and then kind of everything has been put on hold since then. But been trying to do the best I can to maintain the fitness that I'm in, and also see if I can go back to the weight room aspect and get a little bit stronger, and then just working when I can, weather permitting and facilities permitting, on working on my technique in the ring.
I've got Ryan Crouser, Olympic gold medalist, on here, just the cup. You'd mentioned a little bit ago about World Championships in Doha.
Hmm.
That shot put competition, it was out of this world. One of the most ridiculous, you know, competitions in track and field history.
Yeah.
What in the world was that like? I mean,
Yeah, it was it was just a absolutely crazy competition. I don't think anyone really expected it to be at the level that it was, especially with it being that late in the year and being the last meet of the year.
Right.
It just was a little bit of a different feel to it, but I feel like a lot of the athletes that late in the year had burned off kind of their nervous energy, so you didn't have quite
Right.
maybe the nerves like what you have at say a major that's in July, where you've been training and had a series of meets. But at this, it's like after this we're done, might as well just kind of leave it all out there. And for me personally, I felt like I executed really well. I wanted to get a far throw. I was early in the throwing order and wanted to get a far throw out early and did pretty much exactly that. I broke the championship record on my first throw
Right.
and really felt like I put the pressure on well. Got, I mean, a really good to break a championship record first attempt. Like we're rolling. And then Tom later in the same round goes 2290, and it was just like I don't. He seemed surprised by it. I know everyone was surprised by it because it was like, I mean, maybe I'm thinking with the 2230, like that'll I'll be in striking distance for this whole comp, and then to see
Right.
60 centimeters, almost 60 centimeters further, and then I'm not even up in round two, and I'm in third because Romani's passed me. And it was just like this is absolutely madness to be having thrown a championship record first round. Especially a lot of people don't realize in the throws, especially at majors, big throws early usually hold up much better than throws later in the comp.
Right.
Um, so you get that throw out there early. You'd expect that a first round 22-30 mid would is putting pressure on everyone and everyone kind of drop back, but it kind of did the opposite. And and so I felt like I competed really well. Had another 2270 or another 2270 plus throw in that comp, and then which was really almost lucky on the behalf that at least the consistency paid off because then in the final round after saw Joe's 2291, which came out of really out of nowhere. I think that was a
Right.
meter further
Right.
than his next best throw.
Right.
Uh, so it was like I everyone's kind of getting ready for each of their attempts, and then you just see a 2291 pop up on the board, and it was like, well, you've known Joe can do it for years. He's thrown far for a long time and had some unbelievable warm ups and fouls, and so it's like you've known he could do it, but on that day, I mean, it's not like he was throwing bad. You're throwing 2190, almost 22, but to throw 2291, you're in a class all of your own out there. And so
Right.
that was just a surprise. And at that point for me, it was like, okay, there's not. I'm in third place with 22 now, or I'm in third place with 2270 something. Like, might as
Right.
well just go for it. And actually felt like I missed that throw a little bit. If you watch the video, it kind of goes out to the right, which for me, my best throws are never right sector. They're always down the middle, slightly left to center. So, but at that point, it was just kind of all adrenaline, just go in there and smash it at that point. It wasn't a whole lot of technical execution going on.
Right.
But yeah, it was, and then to throw 2290, tie Tom, win on the tiebreaker. It'd be like if they were saying afterwards, like if you had scripted this in a movie, like it would be ridiculous. Like that people would be just say, "Oh, that's unrealistic. That would never happen." And it almost felt like that to have 1 centimeter between all the medals, with it being 60 centimeters almost over the previous World Championships record.
For somebody that doesn't understand how big a centimeter is, can you give us a little showing of about how wide a
Yes.
centimeter is?
So centimeter, you're at half an inch. So about that. So
That's
yeah, for reference. So yeah,
that's
and you're at
insane.
70. So you're at over 75 feet. So if you were to stand on the free throw line, um, on a basketball court, you're standing on the free throw line, you would make a three-quarter court shot with a bowling ball. And if you had three shots, all of them landed within a penny for a
That
penny's
is an
distance variance.
incredible. That's an
Yeah.
incredible analogy of that. Because I mean that thing. I mean, emotionally is crazy. Where does that put you? Think where do you think that the state of throwing is shot put wise? After that. I mean,
Yeah, so it's It's honestly a little bit tough to say because it was such an unbelievable competition. Um, and I mean, without a doubt, probably the greatest shot put competition of all time. Just you look at the distances and the variation. So probably undoubtedly best shot comp of all time. And so I was really interested to see this year kind of where everyone is at. I felt like I was in a good place. Joe is always like he's a real big picture guy. He might not throw far in early season or
Right.
even mid season, but come majors, he's always in good shape. And so Joe is I have no doubt would be there. And then once again, Tom is a great competitor, and so you'd probably see him there. And then it was interesting to see where so the top three guys, without a doubt, I think are all coming back definitely as hungry as ever. But then you've got a lot of younger guys in that field that were fourth. Well, and a lot of people forget about Romani. You threw over the championship record. You threw 2250 and you got fourth, and no one hardly even recognizes that for Darlin Romani at World Champ.
Right.
So
That
I think if you look back, if you took out like pre 2016, there was maybe like one or two 22. I think Cantwell might be the only one person to have thrown 2250 in like the previous 10 years. So you had the farthest throw pre
right.
2016 in 10 years, and then in a world championship, but nobody hardly even notices. So it's just
I, in
craziness.
complete insanity for sure. For
Hmm.
sure. Okay, let's jump off of throwing for a second. And what is keeping you busy right now during the quarantine? Because obviously you're not out kind of out and about too much, but
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's been, I don't know, just trying to stick to a routine has been the main thing. I feel like it's really easy during all of the quarantine between being locked down and not having a ton of goals longer or like for the season. It's really easy to just kind of let your day slip away. So I've really tried to stick to a schedule. I'm lifting, have like four primary lifts a week. So I do a bench, or I do a squat and a bench Monday and then Tuesday. Wednesday, just a bodybuilding fitness circuit, and then pretty much repeat that the next 3 days. So I'm kind of on a rotating 3 day program and then rest on Sundays and throwing when I can. So it's been usually
right.
trying to throw Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So I definitely still I feel like I have been pretty regimented on my day to day, and that takes up a pretty good chunk of time, about half the day, to get through whether it's between prehab, extended warm up, and then the lift and all the auxiliary stuff I do. So that eats up a pretty good chunk of the day, and trying to be real disciplined on that. And then weather permitting, been fishing when I can. That's the one nice thing about Arkansas. We haven't been
Yeah.
locked down. The state has been taking a little bit of a different approach. They've really pushed for social distancing, but haven't locked down
Hmm.
state parks
That's
like we've
good.
seen in some other states. So it's been state parks are all free, have all been free use. So they've been just open as long as you practice social distancing, which has been nice. So they've been trying to get people just say, hey, you can get out of your house. You don't have to be sitting inside. Just be smart about the social interactions you're having. So you've seen a ton of people have been around here just out fishing, getting out of their house, which has been good. And so I've been kind of doing that, just going out, trying to
What's
get outside.
what have you been fishing for?
I've been doing some bass fishing mostly, and then fishing for catfish as well. So
Cool.
it's been good. Just nice to get out of the house, get out there on the water. Bass fishing's been pretty good, weather permitting, and got some big catfish over 20 pounds recently.
Whew.
So that's been fun.
Are you at least cooking those things up and frying them
Yeah,
or something?
yeah, especially some of the smaller ones tend to be better eating. So, but been having a few fried up some catfish recently, so that's been good.
That's some. That meant not see there we get to food. I'm getting hungry thinking about catfish now.
Yeah.
Hey, if you guys,
So,
if anybody listening or watching has any questions, you can put them in the comment section down below, and we'll get Ryan to answer some of those. To kind of set things up a little bit, family. you have a pretty extensive throwing family from back, almost generations. What's
Hmm.
that like growing up in a family that is just with cousins and uncles and siblings and stuff? Just it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's been really cool. I think the biggest thing, like, so that my family did, a lot of people think, oh, you started throwing super early. I didn't really start throwing. Well, I just started doing track in middle school because that was the only sport we could do as a part of our middle school. So that was and when I went out, I was doing the 100 meters, long jump, throws as well. And so it wasn't at all like I was doing just throwing the shot put or discus from day one. And up through high school, I still played basketball. I was conference player of the year in basketball, so it was definitely not at all like I was doing just track. But I think the one thing that has been really cool is that they, especially later on, really appreciate the effort, and then also just the kind of perspective that goes along with throwing at the elite level, which has been cool to be able to share that with my family. Because I mean, you say go to a normal Thanksgiving dinner, and it's like, oh yeah, I threw 75 feet at the World Championships, but most people aren't really going to appreciate that. Where when you have a
Right.
family that has thrown or have a track background, they can and actually threw the shot there, they are just like, I can't imagine throwing 75 feet. Uh, that's just crazy. So it's cool because we can talk about it, and they also appreciate the amount of work and the level of performance that goes along with it.
That's definitely pretty special. I tell you, we got some people on here from India, from Uzbekistan. I mean, that might be the first person to watch World's Greatest Team from Uzbekistan. Paralympic athlete. That's awesome. Give you a shout out for that. Some of the questions that have come up so far is Josh was asking, "What's your biggest throw in training?" You said you don't typically have um, big throws necessarily in training, but your furthest?
Yeah, I've thrown. It's tough to say because a lot of the time, so like I'll have some far throws in training, usually around like World Championship time, like when everything
Gotcha.
is peaked. I'm doing a lot of speed work and kind of simulating meet type situations, and so I've thrown far with usually it tends to my farthest throws tend to be with the lighter shots.
Right.
Um, and not even just obviously light ball is going to go farther, but relative to like if you put it on a conversion, I'd say my best throw would probably be I threw 24 meters 15 with a 15-pound shot. So that would be probably my farthest on a if you converted them, because for me it's about a meter per pound. So if I went from a 15 to a 16, I would drop down a meter. So that 24-15 would probably be the farthest throw that I've had. I would say, or the most impressive training throw I've had.
That's nice. It's not bad. So we got asked a little bit earlier. Somebody asked, with you think the U.S. can hold a meets or something similar to the Diamond League, or is that something that professional track and field athletes would like to see, or is it just
Yeah, I think right now everyone's looking just to kind of get back out competing again. I don't think we're going to be too picky as far as what our options are. And
right?
I mean, I think the a big thing is starting to hopefully see some facilities start opening up,
Mhm.
which you like the meets I'm hoping will come along, but you have to have these athletes that are going to back trying to compete need to be in shape as well. So I'm hoping we kind of just see some of the when the time is right, see some of the restrictions being lifted on at least things that are following social distancing. So I can see um, I mean, I'm definitely not a doctor or an expert on any of the
Right.
guidelines regarding coronavirus, but it's been a little bit frustrating. Like if I'm throwing out in a field by myself, and then people coming out and
Right.
saying, "Hey, you can't be here. This is quarantined." And it's like,
Right.
okay, so I'm out here in a field by myself, or I'm sitting at home by myself. Like either way, there's zero social interacting
Right.
action. So
Right.
it's that's been a little bit frustrating. So I'm just kind of hoping to see. before we get some meets, see some facilities opening back up, just so that
Sure.
we can get our athletes kind of get their legs back under them, get back to training again. And that's why I would say for a lot of high school athletes as well, you got to realize that, I mean, a lot of these kids, I know when I was in high school at this point, it's almost sports year round, whether it's football,
Sure.
basketball, track. We're kind of an unprecedented territory, taking 6 or even 8 weeks off. That's a long time for these kids that really haven't taken a whole lot of time off. So have to be smart getting back into training, because the last thing you want to do is come off of 8 weeks of doing really not a whole lot and then get yourself injured, and then you're kind of right back to square one again. So it's being smart
Right.
as you reload, as you get back used to moving again, will be a key.
It's awesome. Hey, this is Coach Fetz on Just the Cup, World's Greatest Team. Give us a follow, World's Greatest Team. We have interviews, and we don't even call them interviews, more like conversations. And we got Ryan Crouser, Olympic champion, and the shot put on. We're trying to go through. I mean, there's been a slew of questions that have been getting asked here. If we don't get to them, Ryan, what's the best way somebody can reach out to you as a fan?
Yeah,
To
so I'm on Instagram, and that's usually the main social media platform that I use right now. Is mostly on Instagram, and so that's probably the best way to get a hold of me. Sometimes it gets a little bit tricky because Instagram filters my messages out, so I have to go check my like
right.
non-follow, no previous interaction inbox. But I try to check that at least once a week. So if you guys have any questions or anything, message me. And shoot, the one message I get all the time is like, "Do I have any secrets for throwing?" And I'll just answer that
Yeah,
one right
somebody
now.
just asked about what cues do you use.
Yeah,
That's
so I
kind
mean,
of along that line. Ooh.
oh, there we go, back. So,
Yep.
but for cues and throwing, I would say just be more technique based than like strength or power based. It's a lot easier to develop strength and technique in the weight room, or strength and power in the weight room, than it is to develop technique. So, really focus on that. Video analysis is your friend, but take it with a grain of salt. You're At the end of the day, it's still you in the ring throwing, and so that feeling that you kind of develop as you work through your throws. So don't be afraid to watch video, but don't base anything off of video. Look at the video and try to feel what you're seeing, I would say, is a main thing. So it's not just, okay, I'm out of position, how do I fix that? Look at the video, okay, I'm out of position, but this is what I felt, and this is what I felt like I did wrong, or this is what I feel like I need to correct, because you want to develop that feeling for your own throw. It's tough to completely copy someone else,
Right.
and because it's funny at this level, I have a ton of people making videos and technical analysis, and it's like, this is what Ryan Crouser's thinking of when he's throwing, and it's like a cue I've never thought of and never worked on before, and it's like new, and it's completely new to me. And so like people are talking about my left arm like re-wrapping, and they're like, oh, that's what he does, like that's all he's thinking about. And the left arm re-wrap through the middle, part of my technique is completely subconscious. Like there is zero thought going into that. So it's funny, but I would say, yeah, just develop your own technique. Study the event, study the elite throwers, but figure out what works for you, what feels good when you throw, what you kind of respond well to, and don't be afraid to develop your own throw, because at the end of the day, it's just you out there in the ring, and it's you out there that's competing. So uh, that'd be my advice.
Well, I see through the feed that your coach Mario is on watching
Oh yeah.
the conversation right now. What is something that you think? I mean, he was your coach in college, and
Hmm.
obviously he's coaching at the University of Arkansas now. You went back there to train. You know, what's a relationship like with a coach that creates
Yeah,
success?
yeah. I think. I mean, at least for me, I think it varies a lot athlete to athlete, because every athlete and needs something a little bit different, and
Sure.
B, every coach has a little bit different style. So it's finding a relationship that works for you. So for me, I'm pretty hands off and pretty independent, and it works really well with Mario because he's really a fundamentals based coach.
Mm,
We really aren't doing anything too special as far as trying to reinvent the wheel or
right.
anything. It's just making sure that the fundamentals are there and they're in place. And if you do the major things right, um, that solves 99% of your problems. Very rarely is your technical problem like a really small thing. Usually it's just a fundamental based thing. If you do the fundamentals well, you're going to be throwing pretty well. So that's I think a big part why my style as an athlete and Mario's coaching style work well together. And I worked with John DeGata for multiple years at the training center, and still touch base with him. And he's another one that uh, DeGata always has something to say, and he's a great guy. He likes to talk. But when it comes to coaching, me and him had a really good relationship of kind of we can BS and talk outside the circle, but during practice, really just focus on the fundamentals once again and keeping it simple.
Right.
Um, the movement itself is not that complicated, but you can make it as complicated as you want it. So I'm just always about trying to keep it as simple as I can.
That's good. Actually, this might get past PG, but Coach Pat asked favorite Bubba quote.
Oh, there's a lot of them.
And,
It
and,
was
and
like,
if people don't know, we're talking about Bubba Thornton, who was a longtime, coach at the University of Texas, where you went. He
yep,
definitely has some Bubba-isms for sure.
yeah, yeah, a lot of them like they weren't bad, but just some of the language is definitely yeah not PG. Um, Shoot, I'm trying to think of just some. There was so because the thing was, it wasn't like there was one or two that he went to over and over again. Like every day was a new one.
Right.
Uh, Dang, I like shoot.
But I'm gonna ask you another question, and
Yeah,
we'll have to get back to that. Master shot putter asked sets and reps that you're doing right now. So you said you're kind of going back
yeah,
for fall training. What do those kind of look like?
yeah. So for me, early in the week, so like I was saying, it's Monday, Tuesday, squat, and then bench, and then Wednesday's a bodybuilding fitness circuit, and then just repeat Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So the early half of the week is kind of, I'll try to get on the intensity a little bit, and so that
Mhm.
looks, I'm doing wave sets, so
Okay,
it's
wave
10,
sets. Got
8,
it.
6, 8, 6, 5, and kind of just as a little bit of a motivator. So looking at it, doing that 10, 8, 6, 8, 6, 5, as that so it's increasing weight, 10, go up and weight to the 8, up and weight to the 6, and then the kind of challenge of the day is trying to maintain at that 6 rep weight for that start of the second wave of 8. So when the reps go up to 8, I'll try and stay at that same weight. And so that's just, I mean, for me, a little bit of a motivator and a little bit of a challenge. So that's the first half of the week. So a little bit higher intensity, especially with that challenge set in there. And then the second half of the week, that the Thursday, Friday, Saturday will be, those are just 5 sets of 8 right now.
Okay.
Not a super high intensity, kind of an RPE of 7, about like 80%, I'd say maybe 80% of my 8 rep max, just give or take. Just working in volume, trying to keep it smooth, not really trying to struggle at any one point, and just get volume in. And so
Sure.
that's where I'm at. Really, really pretty simple right now.
That's good. What we let you go. Like you said, we started off a little bit on food, but I got to ask you as a thrower, what's your go-to staple in food? Like what do you love?
Yeah, I mean, so for me as a thrower, it's a little bit different than a lot of guys because I really don't like eating that much. It's almost more a part of training at that point. I'm not like some of the guys they just love to go out and eat, and that's like what they look forward to. Where for me, it's like a big sigh and then start eating again because I feel like I'm just eating all the time.
Right.
And the biggest thing at this point is that when I'm trying to gain weight, if you ever feel like you're hungry, um, you're not optimizing your caloric intake. So
Right.
it's trying to eat every 3 hours. So the biggest thing is making myself eat when I'm not hungry. And
Right.
that's kind of the struggle that I run into. So my diet's definitely a little bit different. I'm on a pretty much what looks like a liquid diet. So it's no solid food, just smoothies before lunch. So it's
Hmm.
um, I do 1,000 calorie smoothie. So it's like, yeah, Philip was talking about milk. So I'll do wake up and it's 32 ounces of milk in a smoothie. So that right there is I'm at like over 500 calories, and then some protein powder, a banana, and then like 4 tablespoons of peanut butter, and
Cool.
that's my breakfast. So it's definitely not like, but it's an effective method because if you drink your calories, you don't feel like you ate them because it's that
Sure.
the mechanism of actually chewing your food is kind of in part what makes you feel full. So
Right.
if I drink my first 2 meals, by the time I get to lunch, I feel like I need to eat something, which is a nice feeling as opposed to, okay, I have to eat and I'm not hungry and just
Right.
force feeding myself.
Got it. So, well, we're going to end on this question. Aiden Gent asked, "Is the cowboy hat going to be a staple now at meets
I
going forward?"
I think so. I wore it just because shoot, I've been wearing a cowboy hat since I was little. We have like my mom has a picture of me with a cowboy hat like down around my eyes with a towel on it as a cape when I was like 3, and so um, yeah, I like the cowboy hat. I wore it just because I felt like I'd be fun to wear. And then the very next meet, everyone was asking me like, "Where's the cowboy hat?" Where I had more questions about why I wasn't wearing it instead of why I had been. So I was like, people definitely seem to like it. And so yeah, growing the mustache out right now. I don't know how well you can see
Nice.
it. It's
Yep.
blonde. But so yeah, I think the cowboy hat is here to stay. Definitely hoping it'll make an appearance if we can have some meets here late summer.
Absolutely. Ryan, man, thank you so much for giving the time to be on here. I know you
Yeah,
answered some things that I know a lot of people are fired up to hear because it's, I mean, one of the best conversations we've had so far on Just the Cup.
well, thanks for having me.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, Ryan Crouser, the Olympic champion, reigning Olympic champion in the shot put for at least another year, and then you
Yeah.
can add to it for another one. But join us, Just the Cup. We'll be on tomorrow. Actually, John Delgado is going to be on tomorrow, chatting it up a little bit. So I'll be excited, and we'll look forward to talking to you a little bit later, Ryan.
All right, have a good one.
Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.